Rosie's about, in its simplest form, I think, fatherhood and like the sacrifices and what you do to provide for your family, but also what you want to provide them emotionally as much as you want to be. I'm not a father, but the case is actually based off of a real case that my father did. But it's really about like you trying to give to your family, but also the sacrifices that you take in order to provide for them. The case itself is based off of one that my father, Ken Kohnstamm, had when he worked at the Minnesota Attorney General staff, which he worked there for 35 years. And one of the first torts cases that he took was this case, in which a little girl drowned in this pond due to the runoff of a built highway. And he really kind of connected with the father. And he wasn't a bad father. He was a decent man, but death happens to everyone. And he connected with that. And he kind of connected with this grieving father and was like, this is, he's just like me. So I had the pleasure of writing it with my father while he was battling pancreatic cancer. And unfortunately, he never saw the end result of the film. But it was good to share this story that he told me made him feel like it encouraged him to be a more attentive father. And it meant a lot to me to be able to put that into words and to film it, and it was a really good experience. And I'm kind of like the black sheep in my family in that my brother's in law school, my mom's an immigration lawyer, and my dad worked for the city as a civil litigator. And I love film. So it was like a thing that he was always interested in, and that was like my life, and so it was fun to be able to combine our passions and kind of write something together. My parents have they always had a very loving marriage, and so there was never like really any drama in it. So my dad was like, you have to kind of take some creative license with this and like add some drama. So like them having like a strained relationship was, I added that for dramatic effect. But because it's a short, I kind of played with the idea of like this could be a feature, this could still be a feature. And I'm very curious about like the African American side, the Murphy's family side, and how that could be extended into a feature. Obviously, loss is the most dramatic you could get into a film, obviously. But I guess limitations was, if you're gonna have a feature film, you have to have like the money to be able to do it for, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I think that, I kept it short and sweet. And it was kind of hard to trim it down to, a good 15 minutes. I guess, yeah, it was hard to limit the film down to 15 minutes because you want it to be presentable in festivals, but you also want it to be, you want it to grab your attention and keep it there for 15 minutes, which can be difficult. Yeah, so that was kind of hard. My dad told me about this story, and I slept on it, and I was like, wow, I really got to write something about this. So I woke up, and I sat him down, and I was like, what is the process for a deposition? What you're watching back here is a deposition. What is that? What do you do? And he's like, well, you ask a lot of questions. You try and get some evidence or some interesting things that maybe negate what he said earlier. You kind of try to mess him up, maybe make him slip up, or really want to get to know the person that's suing the city. What's he about? So if you ever went to trial, what is this guy going to be like on the stand? So we're sitting in like his office, and whatever. I'm like viciously jotting down notes, and so after that, and then I was like, okay, I think I have enough information. I know like all the questions that he asked. Unfortunately, the case was like 20 years ago, so you can there's a part in here. There's like a stenographer in the room, and they keep the records of the deposition, but I couldn't ever track it down. So I had to kind of make them up just from general questions that he would ask, and so from that I wrote a script and I showed it to him, and he's like, yeah, this is really good. I really like that. You have to add drama, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna. And then he looked at it and he really liked it. And at that point it was around March, and he passed away in April. And so I was pretty crushed for like 3-4 months, just trying to. I was like, but I have this script, and All of his family and friends were always very supportive, And so I was like, I really want to, if I'm going to make this film, I'm really going to make it. So I did a crowdfunding campaign. I raised about like $8,000, $1,000 of which went to PanCan. They were generous, like, supporters of us, and the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. I have one of their bracelets on. Fight cancer. Fight pancreatic cancer. And, the crowdfunding market's very diluted right now with a lot of, like, hey, this is my next project, like, check it out. And I have nothing against using crowdfunding. Sometimes it's the only way that projects will get done, especially here sometimes, because, Snowbait works for features, but, not everyone can pull together, I think, like $50,000 is like the minimum to gain access to Snowbait. But I think that it's a good way for you to network and reach people that maybe share your common goals for your film. Like, hey, I love like zombie horror short films. I'd love to, that's a good way to meet a market. It's a good way to introduce your stuff to a market.
Aaron?
The editing was tricky in that, well, it's not like we shot more than we needed to. Mm-hmm. And this is why I don't edit. This is why I did not edit this, is that I knew that it would take me forever. Just in that, one of the last days on set, I had to like sit on a jungle gym for like 20 minutes to kind of be like, this sucks that this is done. This is something that something my dad and I wrote together, and I'd love to wish he was here for that. And it's the same reason why I gave it to the editor, because I know that it's just like something that I would hold on to forever, and I will. I always will cherish this movie. But that it was tricky to sit down 2, 3, 4, or 5 times with the editor and say like this is the vision that I have. Like maybe let's extend this, let's go to this shot, stuff like that. But as a part of being the director, producer, writer, you really want the people that are helping you, like editors, colorists, composers, let them freely express their creativity. And I have enough faith in like my editor to say like, you're an editor, like this is what you do professionally. I have full faith that you'll be able to get it together. And of course, maybe we won't always agree, but in the end, I'll always trust your creative instinct. So yeah, it's tricky to it's even more trickier to give that to someone and say like, can you make it perfect? And that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for an editor, but it's good it was hard for me to let go and like give it to someone to edit. A few things I enjoy about directing in general is really like how you can change the dynamic of a scene so quickly just with simple notes. And it's like 20% vision, but it's like 80% the actors. If you have really good actors, they'll take your simple notes, or like, hey, like maybe if you waited a minute or a second and then delivered your line, those are very simple notes. But what I love about directing is just like you have like that vision in your head of like how you want something to go, and then like when an actor nails it, it's like, oh my god. And it's such a good feeling because it's more than being like the captain of the ship. It's democracy on like a pirate ship. There's no one man saying yes, we're doing that. It's like you kind of lead these buccaneers into battle, and that it's all together, and they all want your vision, they all share your vision, and they want the best for it. And so it makes them all excited. And so a lot of things I enjoy about directing is that you can make people excited on and off set. And when you show like this, I was excited because it's like, this is like a piece of me that I get to share to everybody. That was why it was really exciting for me to direct it. And that's why like I kind of choose my projects very carefully, because it's like I'm sharing a part of myself, and it's exciting and it's fun, and you can do so much with being a director. Directing is a fun experience. it's a lot of pressure to be the director because you have to answer a lot of questions, obviously, which makes it so much easier when it's something that you're so driven in. Like I knew from day one, like I have the general idea of what I want to present these actors, and if these are professional actors, I mean like it was like union actors, if like they have an idea of like how they want to portray their character, then like go with it. Like I trust you. As long as you're like saying the lines that I had, or you have a better take on those lines, I'm very open. But I think directing is great because it gives you the power to control the creative vision, and that's a lot of pressure, like I said. But I think in the end, it's amazing.